Hey folks, how's it going? This is Seagull here, back with another video. So today we're going to talk about hints because it seems that we may have gotten a few for fairies out of growing together. The first hint is one that I haven't seen anyone talk about yet. I was in the middle of recording my ambient ASMR video for San Sequoia, like I normally do when a new world comes out, and I ran into this interesting sound. So if you want to hear this in your own game, go to the Hopewell Hills neighborhood and go over to this lake, which is near that park with the jungle gym and the statue. And come here at night once it's dark. And if you're close to the fireflies, or at least by that bridge that goes over it, you should be able to hear it pretty clearly. I don't think I've ever heard this sound effect before in the game, let alone close to fireflies, so it really stood out to me when I recorded it. I was like, is my game glitching out or something? This doesn't seem right, because there isn't really much of a magical element to this pack. It's pretty grounded in realism, so it's just like, why is this sound here? Is this supposed to be some sort of hint to fairies? I think it would make sense if they ended up being one of the next packs. Potentially the biggest hint to fairies in growing together is the ability for children to lose teeth as a milestone, because then you can have the kids put teeth under the pillow and then the next morning they'll get money from the tooth fairy. Though it is interesting that there's no actual tooth fairy NPC that you see flying into the house or whatever, but I guess it also makes sense because there's no tooth fairy in real life. Still though, I think it would make this whole concept a lot more interesting if fairies were put into the game at some point, and potentially have some really interesting crossover with growing together, because one idea I've said in the past was, well, what if one way of making fairies more unique compared to spellcasters is if you could become the tooth fairy yourself, maybe as like a freelance career. I don't think they would go so far as to making a career exclusive to owners of these two specific packs, a theoretical fairies game pack and growing together, but still, it would be kind of interesting if they managed to pull off that idea somehow. A couple of objects and their descriptions could be pointing towards fairies as well. There is the Fungi Realty Incorporated studio apartment, where there's this sort of like decorative plant that has a mushroom on it, and fairies and mushrooms tie pretty well together. This unit is a steal and will not be on the market long. This studio apartment has been hand-carved from a wonderful specimen of fungi, cultivated in-house by Fungi Realty Incorporated for only our most miniature of clients. Scenic staircase leads into a spacious front garden that boasts great views of the neighboring giant's backyard. The interior comes furnished with adorably stylized Mycelian furniture. So maybe those most miniature of clients could be fairies, since fairies could just shrink down. The other object is this Uni-Can-Do-It Teddy kid sculpture. With a unicorn as a best friend and a set of wings, Teddy is an inspiration to all. Expertly crafted with local resources from around the house, display this pinnacle of youthful creativity with pride. In a previous video shortly after the Growing Together trailer came out, I talked about this object as a potential hint to unicorns returning alongside horses in maybe another game pack or expansion pack. But this one could also be a hint towards fairies, especially with that Teddy being dressed up like a fairy. It is also worth noting that back in 2017, fairies did appear on a survey as a game pack concept, where it says step lightly through the magic dust and try not to sneeze, as it's time to embrace magic in The Sims 4 Fairies. Create your fairies that are tiny and oh so magical. Escape to a hidden fairy world where you can learn new tricks that cause mischief back in the real world. Create fairies. Create your own tiny new sim fairy using a variety of new magical outfits, colorful wings, and sparkly decoration options. Hidden Fairy World. Fairies can flutter about through a new magical fairy world, which can only be seen if you're a fairy or have been granted special permission by fairy kind, and cause mischief. Gather up enough magic pixie dust and train your fairy to learn new tricks.
cause mischief, enchant objects, and embrace the magical mayhem. Surveys don't guarantee that these ideas will happen, but it does make them more likely. For example, when Snowy Escape ideas were presented on a survey just earlier in that year. So something to think about. Maybe Fairies could be the next game pack. I would be a little bit surprised if we got another occult themed game pack this soon after Werewolves, but there are multiple possibilities that are being speculated at this point, and I wouldn't be surprised if the next game pack was already out next quarter. Maybe like towards the end, because I don't think we're gonna get another big pack that soon, but it could be fairies, it could be horses and unicorns, it could be hotels, it could be bands. Maybe it could even be that Grim Reaper freelancer career idea from the last stuff pack vote, which ended up becoming Nifty Knitting, but there was that really cool Grim Reaper freelancer career idea that I know was pretty popular, and I think would be way too good to just pass up entirely. Honestly, I think I'd prefer that to a Fairies game pack right now, because I'd rather see something more original for the next occult, because we're always getting ones back from the previous games, which is good, but just to mix it up a little, I think it would be nice to have an occult that's playable that we haven't had before, plus the whole intrigue of finding out more about the Grim Reaper could be a really just sort of fun idea to explore, especially if given a game pack to flesh it out instead of the idea of it being just a stuff pack, which probably aren't being done anymore anyway. Plus, even reading that survey, I am still skeptical as to how well they would pull off Fairies in the end. I'm sure they have potential to be the most visually stunning occult we've ever had in The Sims 4, especially if they bring back the really cool wing customization we had with Fairies in The Sims 3 Supernatural. But I feel after the initial sort of like shiny feeling of just going through new content at the start, then in the long run, I don't know if it's gonna be as satisfying as the likes of vampires or werewolves. So if Fairies do end up coming back, I hope there will be some sort of interesting spin to them. I mean, with werewolves, I was a little worried that they were going to be too similar to vampires, but they proved me wrong with that one, and I know a decent amount of people still want Fairies. Plus, with Project Renee still looking to be so early in development, I feel we have at least 3 years left of The Sims 4, so still plenty of time for ideas to happen. But feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you think we will get a Fairies game pack? And be sure to subscribe if you'd like to keep up with my latest gaming content. I will talk to you all later, and have a great day. Thanks for watching!